making this possible, this service, this community, both online and in person. And we'll begin our service tonight, our Kol Nidre service, with the kindling of a candle for a memorial, the Yizkor candle, and invite Jesse Zeller to come forward and do that for us. On page 687 and 88 in the Machzor, Nirze anu madlikim v'yiskam shel kol ahuvim shalom. We light this candle in the memory of all of our loved ones. May their memory be for a blessing. We light this candle in the memory of the soldiers of Israel Defense Force, and for all those who sacrificed their lives in the sanctification of the divine, dying in the Holocaust. We light it for almost 200,000 Americans and almost 2 million worldwide who have died from COVID-19. And now we kindle the lights of this Yom Tov, of this Nidre, a good day, a Yom HaKippurim, a day of atonement and release. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom HaKippurim. So we begin by convening a court, and in days of old, this prayer was written for those who might not be able to attend services or follow through on their commitments to support the community. So maybe this experience of being sequestered at home or being social distance here can connect us even more acutely to our ancestors and the origins of this prayer, although we've reconstructed Kol Nidre to release us from vows we made in the past year that were left unfulfilled. And may we find forgiveness. So I'm going to invite Dick Friedland to come and open the ark. And David Cook would come forward as well. We'll pull out both Torahs from the ark. Please rise.
This is the Zoom link.
Page 691 and 692. Vishiva Shalmala, Vishiva Shalmata, Al Data Makom, Ve'al Data Kahal, Anu Matirin Litpanel, Imavayanim. I want to invite us to read an English translation, an alternative version of this ancestral prayer in Aramaic on page 697 together, and then our friend Laura Berman will chant the Kol Nidre for us. Together, all the vows. All the vows on our lips, the burdens in our hearts, the pent-up regrets about which we brooded and spoke through prayers without end on last Atonement Day, did not change our way of life, did not bring about deliverance in the year that has gone. From mountain peaks of fervor, we fell to common ways at the close of the fast. Will you hear our regret? Will you open our prison? Release us from shackles of habit. Will you answer our prayers? Forgive our wrongs, though we sin again and again. In moments of weakness, we do not remember promises of Atonement Day. Look past forgetfulness. Take only from our hearts. Forgive us. Pardon us.
I am forgiven.
am forgiven. Nidre versare shavue vicharame vikonome vikinu se vikinu Dalna Hudestabana Udecharina Uda Arsarna Alna Shetana Tana Yom Kippurim Sheva Yom Kippurim Zehavaleinu Itova Kuhoni Charat Naveho Lasherivin Vlakayami Nidrana la Nidre Vesarana la Esare Ushvuatana La Shivu I am forgiven. I am forgiven. I am forgiven. I am forgiven.
Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha. Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha. Vayomer Adonai salachti kidvarecha. Page 696, a blessing for being alive.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazaman hazeh.
Let's remain standing for just a few moments and we'll formally gather ourselves together as a minyan, please, everyone online, feel as connected as we feel here. We are grateful that you're part of this community. Seated. So autumn is upon us, the cycles of light and dark, the seasons changing, inviting us to turn, to change, like the leaves, because there's gold in them there hills, those aspens are changing. Yesterday I was mountain biking and just the perfect wind brought a whole snowfall, blizzard of aspen leaves across the trail. And may the beauty fill us and inspire us with love, that we may love with all of our hearts, with all of our minds, and with all of our souls. Baruch atah Adonai, Ma'ariv Aravim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We say the Shema, and then unapologetically, we follow it with Baruch Shem. Page 713.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך.
Love your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your soul.
Love linked to truth, and truth releasing us, setting us free. We acknowledge as true and trustworthy that there is but one source. And we recognize in this God the power that has enabled us to triumph over defeat and persecution, oppression, and previous plagues. How could we have been redeemed from Egyptian bondage and delivered from the despotism of pharaohs or other authoritarian regimes without this force within us that we perceive and see, and we seek freedom together? Therefore, we will never be discouraged nor dismayed when unrighteous powers seek to destroy or oppress us. We repeat the words of triumph that our ancestors used to give thanks, to sing thanks for their deliverance as we are released from regret and shame, from the past year's unfulfilled promises to begin anew. Page 728, Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei theleh.
Ashkibenu.
Ashkibenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufos aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufos aleinu sukat Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us from wrong from right.
We ready to stand together? On page 734. On this day, atonement shall be made for you, to make you clean, to wash you as clean as you've been washing your hands over the last 7 months from all of your wrongdoings. Before the fount of mercy you shall be clean. Let's rise, and we'll do this as a call and response as we prepare for this standing offering that we can only do together. Ki vayom hazeh,
Ki havayom hazeh
yechaper aleichem,
yechaper
חטאותיכם
מכל חטאותיכם
לפני אדוני
לפני
תתארו. They sound pretty good, Francesca. Watch out for your job next year. We continue with the Amidah. Page 739, 740. There's also transliteration on 388. Continue a few moments of silent prayer, independent service. May this day, this service remind us of the power of words. Elohai nitzur leshoni meira, usfatai midaber mirma. My God, guard my tongue from speaking lies and ill. Ptach libi b'toratecha. Open my heart with words of truth. I invite you to join me on page 781. You can join me on every other stanza. May our prayers rise at evening hour, and may our cry come forth from the dawn, and may our song be pleasing through the day together. May our voices rise at evening hour, and may our merit come forth from the dawn, and may our prayer redeem us through the day. May our searching rise at evening hour, and may our plea for pardon come at dawn, and may our sigh reach you through the day. May refuge rise at evening hour, and may it come for your sake with the dawn, and may atonement reach us through the day. May salvation rise at evening hour, and may our cleansing come forth with the dawn, and may we plead for grace throughout the day. May our memory rise at evening hour, and may confession come forth with the dawn, and may our glory ring out throughout the day. May urgent prayer rise at evening hour, and may rejoicing come forth from the dawn, and may our plea be heard throughout the day. May our weeping rise at evening hour, and may it come forth to you with the dawn, and may it find your favor through the day. Page 800. Today we stand before the mirror of all on page 818. Today we try to see ourselves as we are. We come with no gifts, no bribes, no illusions, no excuses, and hopefully no COVID-19 germs. We stand without defense and wait to be filled. What will fill us? Remorse, certainly. So much error and needless pain. And joy. remembered moments of love and right doing. We are too complex for single-sided emotions, and we are too simple to be excused by our complexity. Let us be bold enough to see, humble enough to feel, daring enough to turn and embrace the ways of justice, mercy, and simplicity. On the following page, 819 and 820, our communal confessional. Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibrirnu Dofi, He'evinu, Vihirshanu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Tafalnu Shaker. Ya'atznu Gizavnu, Latznu, Maradnu, Nihatznu, Saranu, Avinu, Pashanu, Tsararnu, Kishinu Orev, Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu. Yay, bye, 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 bye. Yeah, bye, 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 bye. Yeah, bye, 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 bye. Spelling out our sins, our transgressions from the past year, page 828 and 827, Achet. In the closing of the heart, without knowing what we do, whether open or concealed, knowingly and by deceit, through the prompting of the heart, through the influence of others, whether by intention or mistake, by the hand of violence, through our foolishness of speech, through an evil inclination. In the palming of a bribe, by expressions of contempt, through misuse of food and drink, by our avarice and greed, through offensive gaze. Ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha, through a condescending glance. Page 831 and 832. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by our quickness to oppose. Ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by deception of a friend. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by unwillingness to change. Ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by running to embrace an evil act. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, by our groundless hatred. Ve'al chet shechatanu lefanecha, in the giving of false pledge.
We are forgiven. Oh, we are forgiven. We are, oh, we are forgiven. We are forgiven. Oh, we are forgiven. Oh, we are. Oh, we are forgiven.
course, our sovereign, help us and all those who ail find healing and create healing for others. Invite those online to put a name in the chat if you'd like to include the name into this prayer. Thank you, Francesca, and what a fabulous group of musicians. Angie playing cello, and Alan, Brian, and of course Sherry guiding the band. And of course Laura Berman, if you weren't joining us for Rosh Hashanah, tuning in all the way from just outside of Portland, which is not having any issues these days. Well, hello my friends, online and in person. Thank you for being here. And Gut Yontif. Thank you. I could use that. We could all use that. And given that things have been different this year, let me try something different tonight. I'm going to try a sermon in a story. And it's a story about community, about the power of community to mind and mend gaps the many gaps before us. I first heard this story many years ago, I believe from Rabbi David Cooper. And it's a story whose depth may require more than one glance or listen. So it's an opportunity to practice respecting, looking again. And it takes place in the foothills of Galicia. We're going to call the town Adjarok, which roughly translates as evergreen. And it's more shtetl than ghetto. You know, ordinary folk doing the best they could under the circumstances. It had been many years since the last incident, one that left young Yosef orphaned and homeless. But the families of Adjarok refused to let Yosef fall through the cracks. They closed the gap left by his parents' deaths, raised him as their own. Fromans, Friedmans, Rubens, Levines, Larners, Saltzmans, every family in the congregation took turn offering Yosef a bed and a roof at night, a seat and a plate at Shabbos meals, clean clothes and new books for New Year's. And Yosef grew into adulthood, knowing that he was loved and ready to start a family of his own. But who would he marry? Every household in town saw him as family. All the unmarried girls were like adopted sisters. The town elders went to the rabbi with the dilemma. The rabbi suggested that messengers be sent to nearby shtetls to inquire about eligible daughters to introduce to Yosef. There was no shortage of volunteers to seek a bride for Yosef. By the end of the week, as Shabbat neared, a messenger returned with Rachel, wise and kind and lovely, who, like Yosef, had been orphaned by tragedy and raised lovingly by her community. Now, the seeds of love sprouted instantly, and both communities readied for a wedding to follow Shabbat. Why wait? Now, this might seem like a happy ending, but this is where our story actually begins. You see, the rural district in Galicia had a self-appointed governor, and he also liked to gamble, but he wasn't very good. And when necessary, he skimmed from taxes he'd collected to pay his gambling debts, but he was also the warden of the jail. So when things got really bad, well, he didn't know much about the Jews, but he'd heard that not only did they rally to raise orphans, they are commanded by their Torah to redeem prisoners, no matter the price. Send an officer, make an arrest, imprison a Jew, and set bail. The people of Adjarok would somehow pay the bond. That's how he paid his biggest debts, and occasionally bought a new horse for his carriage. Well, one day, as week's end drew near, the Tsar's tax collector came calling. Soldiers would be coming for a huge sum of back taxes that very weekend. What else could he do? He sent his officers. They made a random arrest and set the bail, and the bail was big enough to cover the entire tax bill owed to the Tsar, some 10,000 rubles. Now, we're ready to start the story. Two communities brought together in dark times by hope and love, and the people were so ready for a celebration. The chuppah, the rings, the wine, the music and dance floor, everything was set for the wedding, and practically everyone from both towns was there. Everyone, that is, except the groom. The news spread like wildfire at the close of Shabbat. Yosef had been arrested, and the bail, an outlandish sum. No one hesitated to give what they could, but it wasn't enough. Not even close. There was only one person that might have that kind of money, Nathan, the miser. Surely he wouldn't give He'd been estranged from the community, and nobody knows quite why. But it had been years since he'd been asked to help out or share a celebration. So to the rabbi they went. A wedding with no groom? A ransom with no money? Rabbi, what are we going to do? The rabbi listened, rose from the table, and headed out the door. The baffled crowd followed him down the road to the outskirts of town. Two communities, now sharing the same uncertain fate, walked together, followed the rabbi up the hill to the daunting oak door of the estranged miser's home. They watched as the door opened and Nathan appeared in the doorway, clearly surprised to see this crowd of visitors. And they saw him, listen attentively, and look up their way, disappear, and then return. Full-on wedding attire and a bag full of money. The bail was paid. Yosef the groom was released and the wedding was back on. Now, you'll be glad to know that this is not the beginning of the story, but neither is it the end. Because the warden was wide-eyed with all that money. He knew the soldiers were on their way. He also knew he couldn't part so soon with his newfound wealth. He would take the money and run. He readied his horses and loaded the carriage and took off into the quiet night. But the night wasn't quiet for long. As he approached the district border, he heard the sound of music and laughter, and he hid the large sack of coins in the carriage, tied the horses, and went to investigate. The elders recognized him, but didn't hesitate to offer him wine and invite him to dance with them. So he did. He danced and drank and drank and danced until he remembered about the czar's men coming to collect those taxes. So he slipped away from the celebration and staggered back to the carriage before anyone could remind him about the dangers of drinking and driving. Over the music and the merriment of the wedding, the celebrants heard the crash and ran to investigate. The warden was lying dead in the road alone, his carriage wrapped around a tree. And there beside the wreckage was a bag spilling over with coins. After tending to the body, they handed the money to the rabbi. And the rabbi returned it to Nathan, who presented it to Yosef and Rachel, a wedding gift for their new life. And that, my friends, is the story of the people of Ad Yarok, providing for Yosef when he became orphaned, seeding a partnership between Yosef and Rachel and their respective communities, reuniting Nathan with his community. And it's a story about how a community that lives its core values, that stands for its values, is rewarded. So why do I share this story with you tonight? To remind us that the gaps that we face today are not so new. Illness and death, homelessness and hunger for food, for learning, and for love. To remind us of the dangers of for-profit prison systems, not to mention gambling, tax evasion, and drunk and distracted driving. To remind us that the estrangements and misunderstandings can be overcome, such as the one with Nathan, fueled by a wealth gap. And I tell this story to remind us of the power of community to mind and mend gaps like these. And this may seem like the end of the story, but since it's also a story about you and me and community, it's really just the beginning of the story. Because we don't really need community until we do. And if I may add one more thing. A few years ago, I saw a name on the CBE membership list, a name I didn't recognize, and I called to reintroduce myself. Howard Sigmund apologized that he hadn't been at shul for so long. He explained that his wife had cancer and that she was homebound and didn't get out much. He managed her care on his own for 5 years until Lilo died. And then in his grief, he was the one who needed support. So we went to him, and Howard came to us to pray and learn, to sing, and to heal. And when Howard himself was hospitalized this winter with a brain tumor, and COVID travel restrictions meant his family couldn't get here, Howard didn't die alone. And at our first COVID-19 funeral, because of Congregation Beth Evergreen, there was a minyan to say Kaddish for Howard. Because we don't need community until we do. So tonight, on this sacred night, I'm thinking of Howard. May his memory be for a blessing. And may his story remind us all that we need functioning community, a functioning community of respecters minding and mending the gaps, of bridging the distance between our current state of affairs and a higher good. May we bridge that gap together. Good Yontif.
From the darkest place to a higher space, calling from every direction. On every single path I have stood strong and cowered fast. What a strange perception. Well, life is demanding, but I am understanding. The best I could was where I stood for a higher good and a greater truth. Where once it was covered up, now I have proof. There's a bigger lesson, one I never expected, rising up from misunderstood. A higher good, oh yeah. I'm always getting ready on steps that are so unsteady, dancing the same old dances. Oh, well, I'm never really sure how to fit myself through the door. Well, it's all part of taking chances, yeah. Well, life is demanding, but I am understanding. The best I could was where I stood for a higher good and a greater truth. Where once it was covered, oh, now I have proof. There's a bigger lesson, one I never expected, rising up from misunderstood. Yeah. Well, I've seen the road at ground level, but there's a wider view at play, much wider view. and it brings me home to revel on this fine, fine, fine day. For higher and good and greater truth, where once it was covered, oh, now I have proof. There's a bigger lesson, one I never expected. Rising up, I am rising up, I am rising up from misunderstood. Higher and good, higher good.
Thank you, Laura. I want to invite Dan Herman to offer a few words. As you know, Dan is our congregation president of the board of directors.
Shana Tova. What a year, huh? I'm glad we're all happy to say good riddance to 5780 and welcome the new year with hope and optimism. Welcome to our members and guests and our digital members and guests from all over Colorado and all over the country. And thanks very much to Rabbi Jamie, our service leaders, Franny and Laura Berman, our staff, Eve Mills and Elizabeth, who's working the slides, Tara Saltzman, our talented volunteers and Torah leaners, and our musicians. Thank you very much, and especially to Sherry Rubin for leading the high holiday planning effort that's been very challenging this year. And Alan Rubin, who is overseeing the installation of our new technology to enable us to stream this far and wide. My name's Dan Herman, and I'm serving as your board president currently. And at CBE, it's customary to give an appeal during the high holidays. And this evening, I wanted to say a few words about our future and request your assistance and support in getting there. Earlier this year, we completed our long-range strategic plan. And I want to fast forward a few years into the future and paint a picture of the CBE Kahila, our community, after realizing our vision, mission, and goals, which we ambitiously set forth. We'll have long emerged from the threat of coronavirus and the need to physically distance, and this room will be filled again. And the world will have made progress towards equality among people of varying backgrounds, and our pervasive feeling of goodwill towards our fellow people will prevail. But imagine, if you will, virtual members, friends of Beth Evergreen, and followers from all over the country and across the globe participating in services, programs, and events. Our adjunct clergy, guest educators, and experts throughout the nation and the world are leading thought-provoking lectures and discussions in classes. CBE is repeatedly praised for a model for innovative, creative Judaism by all Jewish denominations. And we have a strong connection to the state of Israel, regularly participating in events and dialoguing with Israelis. Our interfaith outreach and education advances thinking on the commonality between Jews and our Gentile brethren, focusing on similarities and securing partners to combat anti-Semitism. Our Tikkun Olam Chavurah has grown beyond our wildest dreams, fostering Jewish values by strengthening alliances, caring for local communities, participating in civil discourse, and providing abundant opportunities for meaningful service, putting CBE ideals into action regionally, nationally, and internationally. Our outdoor amphitheater which we had a service today, and I did see some snowflakes, which takes advantage of our spectacular surroundings, attracts members and visitors from all over the region to view performances, guest lectures, and religious services. Our Legacy Society, the Beth Evergreen Legacy Society endowment has grown fourfold, and the resulting annual interest covers over 25% of our annual budget, ensuring the future sustainability of CBE for generations to come. And finally, our 50th anniversary celebration in 2024 is a year-long series of events and are supported by and attended by members, friends, interfaith followers, and international leaders. With your help, CBE will be well on our way to realizing our vision of building an innovative Jewish spiritual community, and will endure the immediate financial challenges and posed by COVID. There's a misconception that philanthropy is only about money, but volunteering your time, contributing your business know-how, and other skills are very important aspects of philanthropy. So please consider some ways you can contribute. One is to donate to our High Holiday Appeal, which will be used this year to fund our outdoor mini Red Rocks amphitheater. By next summer, God willing, we'll be able to safely host performances, guest lectures, movies, community events, and religious services. We estimate the construction cost to be about $20,000 to $25,000, and your contribution will be supported by matching funds pledged by several generous donors, a $5,000 grant by Jefferson County, grants for which we are applying. And additionally, I want to let you know that 100% of our board of directors has pledged a commitment to this year's appeal. For those of out there participating virtually in our beautiful services that live over 50 miles from CBE, consider joining our congregation as a virtual member. You can join the CBE Legacy Society by making a pledge to our endowment, and we're grateful for the support we've received from over 50 families who have contributed to our endowment or bestowed legacy provisions to CBE. You can contribute your expertise and other skills. We need your help. Architecture, construction, landscape management for that amphitheater, PR and marketing help to help us tell a story and reach out across the region and the country, technology expertise to assist in improving and maintaining our AV and streaming capabilities, website and online member resources. How about leading an education event or a seminar? Join our Tikkun Olam Havurah and guide our congregation to new opportunities, which we'll talk more about tomorrow. Volunteer to participate on a committee or a ad hoc task force, or offer a random act of kindness, giving rides to those who are ill or need help, visit the sick, attend the Shiva Minyan, or give tzedakah anonymously. Or one more thing, spread the word about our beautiful facility here in Evergreen, overlooking Elk Meadow and the foothills. Because we lost two of our tenants, we have the capability to lease our building to community and faith-based organizations or host special events. Please contribute in a manner that's meaningful to you in some way. Makes our whole community stronger. If each of you contributes something, we'll continue to expand and foster our connections here in the foothills and way beyond, and leave a legacy for our future generations to come. It's a privilege to share our community with you. Gemara Chatima Tova.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for your stewardship and co-leadership in this last year's strategic planning and focus groups. It's really helped give a direction, and when we've needed strong leadership this year, especially all the pivoting. Appreciate it, Dan. Okay, well, We are trying to keep services under an hour and a half so we don't, create germ loads. So we're going to close the service with Aleinu and invite you to stand up, especially you've been sitting here or sitting in front of your computer. Stand up and stretch your legs, bend your knees, shake off the stiffness that keeps us from the subtle graces of life and the supple gestures of love, so we can take on this task. Please rise. Aleinu is on page 1202, 1204, and 1206, and we use the refrain, Ein Od, there's no moment like the present, and there's no soul and guidance like what we can offer one another. In particular, we turn our thoughts and prayers to Susan Lehman and to Jim Ottinger. Susan's brother, Stuart Fox, passed away this past week, and David Ottinger, Jim Ottinger's son, died this past week. To those families, we say, may the source of life comfort you. We also mourn with and express condolences for former member Hal Gluscotter, who passed away a few weeks ago, Marcia Kessler, Jill Waldenberg's mother, Charlie Shaw, Eric's father, Dorothy Regensteiner, Judy's mother, Arnold Cover, Sandy's cousin, Morty Vogel, Amy Bourne's father, Sally Gendler, Amy Gendler's sister, May Savage, Cindy Savage's mother, and Howard Sigmund. Miriam Clerman, Susan Goldman, Meryl Roth, Steve Wolkowitz, and Arthur Bernstein also passed away this year. And the yard sites that we're aware of from this week, and if I say a name that's connected to you, please rise as I do. Martin Berman, Simon Friedman, Marty Orens, Herbert Schneider, Irma Smith, Al Spiegelman, Coleman Judah Bukatman, Barbara Lockwood, Herman Levine, Shirley Katz. If you have another name to add and you'd like to say your relationship to them, please do. Jim Dietrich, friend. and Josh Solomon, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Erica Bajon Koolstra, Jerry Goldberg, Nellie Rubenfeld, Arlene Doblin, George Millar, Rhoda Gerbitz, Sarah's grandmother, Beatrice Sturm, Michelle's grandmother. Thank you, everybody. May their memories be for a blessing. You can join us for Kaddish or stand during the communal prayer in honor of those who have known us, say Kaddish for them, either from the Holocaust or from COVID-19. So Mourner's Kaddish is on page 1215 and 1216. The communal parts are, that's the conversion. Okay. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. Be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. V'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'okol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'okol Yisrael v'okol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of wholeness and harmony that grants a season and harmony in nature grant comfort to those in mourning and peace to us, to Israel, and to all who dwell on earth together. Let us again say, amen. You may be seated. Let's offer a blessing for one another. We are doing this, right? The Baruch also. So we'll do a combination of Hebrew and English. Please do join me in the English. And you can turn to somebody next to you and bless them with those words, or keep all the blessings for yourself, because we still got another 20 hours of Yom Kippur, so we're good. May we be granted a new year of blessing and security. May the light of the source of life shine graciously upon us and gracefully through us. Francesca, you and me. Ve'yasen
lecha shalom.
Okay. L'shana tova techatemu, may we be sealed for health, for life, and for ways to stay connected in these crazy times. Let us bless.
L'shana tova techatemu, l'shana tova techatemu, l'shana tova techatemu.
Eve, I forgot to invite you to come up and do announcements. You're sitting with your lovely family. Just blend right in. Do you want to come up and share a few announcements? Eve Mills, our executive director.
Shana Tova, and thank you all for attending tonight. I want to extend another big thank you to our song leaders, Francesca Rubin, Laura Berman, and cellist Angie Foster. Thank you for joining us tonight. I would also like to thank our band members. The Adanoff Family Band is with us again. We have Brian and Alan and Sherry Rubin. Thank you so much. And also a big thank you to our tech crew in the back. Melanie, thank you. Keelan, and also Alan. Thank you so much. Our schedule for tomorrow, we hope you can join us for some or all of this, but we have a lot going on tomorrow. We've got two morning services, the 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. 8 a.m. is outside, 10 a.m. is inside. They'll both be on Zoom, so you can join us that way. We have a contemplative hike that will start at 12:30. We'll meet in the parking lot of CBE. We'll wear masks, and we'll head over to Elk Meadow. Also at 3, there's an online Torah study. At 4, we have family service, followed at 5 by our Yizkor and Havdalah, immediately after the healing service. And we will have our final service at 5:30 and then wrap up with the burning of the Al-Chetz. Those forms can be found in the lobby here or online. We have a Google spreadsheet. We sent out a link by email last week to everybody who wants to participate by Zoom to send us those Al-Chetz. If you did not get that email, you can send me an email, eve@bethevergreen.org, and I can send you the link to that list as well as the Yizkor list and the Mishaberach list. It's very confusing because there's a lot of online things and moving parts, but we're trying to get this all squared away. We are also supporting the Weinberg Food Pantry, so you can bring food donations to CBE by September 30th if you'd like to donate to that. And then looking ahead, we're going to be building our sukkah behind the building on September 30th at 3 p.m., and we hope you can join us for that. And we're going to celebrate Sukkot together on October 2nd, followed by Simchat Torah on October 10th. I think that's it for now. Shana Tova.
I love Congregation Beth Evergreen where you send your confessions to Eve, not the rabbi. And tomorrow, I really hope you'll join us tomorrow morning, especially we'll be trying to do breakout groups in Zoom and in the space to really do some thinking about how we collectively in Beth Evergreen can help support efforts in the world that, closing the gaps in the world, the broader world. So for 15 years, you may have noticed I do these themes for the 4 nights. Erev Rosh Hashanah is always about sort of the individual gap. The first morning is about the family gap and generational gap, and Erev Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre, about community, and Yom Kippur Day is about the world at large. So we'll be turning to the work of the Tikkun Olam and helping them frame their mission going forward, and there's a lot to talk about. So I really want to get your input. It'll be much more interactive, even especially trying to engage folks online. Thank you again for tuning in online, and what a crazy time it is. Let's try L'Shana Tova Techatemu one more time, and may we be sealed for blessing. Lishana tova techatemu, Lishana tova techatemu.
Lishana tova techatemu.
We also have to thank Melanie and Keelan, who have been doing overtime for the last 2 weeks, doing sound. Thank you so much, and Sherry, for helping to recruit them and bring them here. Shana Tova, everyone. Good Yontif. If you're fasting, may it be as easy as you need it to be to help change. Good Yontif.